something everybody needs to hear. But I'm dressed real casual today because I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? You know, Pastor Steele said this, the Apostle Steele said it. You know, the clothes don't make who you are with a $1,000 suit. It's what's in the suit. So the clothes don't matter. I've been to places in the last 4 or 5 years to speak, and they're like, you're not getting in my pulpit without a tie. I respect that. That's your church. I put on a tie. So when we travel, like we're traveling to see, you always wear whatever. Yeah. I mean, I've been to places where they say, hey, you can get up there with shorts and a t-shirt and go ahead and pray. I don't care. Walk up there. I've been in pulpits where they said, don't go on my pulpit without a jacket and a tie. So you respect the house that you're in. So I respect this guy and his wife for what they've been through. Much respect. When I see people come in, all you guys have that. So I give him all this respect due in the world for what he's built here. Because when I walk in here, it makes me more powerful. And I'm where I am today because of being invited here and God showed me to come here. So when he tells me that, he's going to laugh at this title of my sermon. I'm going to go ahead and get started a little bit. If you can find that, go ahead and find it. But they were joking in here a couple weeks ago that something, Pastor Steele said, you smell something? You smell something? Like, I don't smell anything. But the title of my sermon today, I fought this in battle. And I'm still kind of hesitant to put it down. But the title of my sermon today is Something Stinks. And I just want you to remember that something stinks, and we'll tie all that in here in a little bit. So with all that, with Revelations, I'm going to do a little bit before they get out here. But it's called Something Stinks. And I'm going to read the scripture. You don't have to stand for it. I'm going to put the King James Version on the board. But I'm going to read the NIV because I think it explains it just a little better and understand it. So when everybody has it, just say amen. Amen. Everybody use their phone now for the Bible. Who brings the Bible? Hold your Bible up if you actually brought a book. Okay, that's good. That's 50%. I do both. So it's Revelation 3:16, and I'll stop about 20, 21, 22, whatever version you have. And I'm going to read the NIV, and it reads like this. It says, so because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. You say, I am rich, I have acquired wealth, and do not need a thing. But you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined in the fire so you can become rich, and white clothes to wear so you can cover your shameful nakedness, and salve to put on your eyes so you can see. And I'm going to stop there. The NIV says, I'll spit you out of my mouth. The King James Version says, spew. This is one of the times there's drastic differences. I want to show you how you need to have a relationship with God so you can understand it. If I spit something out of my mouth, it just kind of tasted nasty. The word spew means vomit, regurgitate. It means to get out of your system. So when he says, God says, I'm going to get you out of my system, wow, you're done. When judgment comes, you're done. He's not going to spit you out. So I wanted to read the NIV to show you the difference in the two. Spew means to vomit, to throw up, regurgitate, get it out of your system. Completely gone so you don't have to deal with it. So the title today, I told you, was Something Stinks. And we're going to talk about stagnation. And stagnation basically says in the Bible, it's a body of water and atmosphere having no current and no flow and has an unpleasant smell. And one of the things that caught me off guard is it's a definition of that is depressed. Stagnant means depressed. And in the world today, the number one cause of medical leave now in America is not cancer, not smoking addiction or anything, it's mental illness. And the number one mental illness, anxiety and bipolar and all that, is depression. So FMLA in the last 15 years has been, it used to be people had cut their finger, they hurt their arm, they hurt their back, it was a physical thing. Now there's more mental cases that they're seeing in HR than physical. So it tells me we're not focused on what we're doing. Wow. The other thing is, it's the number one medication today is not a cancer drug, it's not insulin, it's not ibuprofen when you go in, it's not a Vicodin. It's some kind of pill to help your mind focus. That's the number one medication today. So our problem is depression, and depression means stagnant. Stagnant means you're not doing something. So I'm real careful to talk about depression and stagnation because when I was 25, I had anxiety. It's the same as depression. Woke up one day, hair started falling out, I went kind of crazy. And I hear pastor say cuckoo, whatever he says, Cocoa Puffs. Okay, so they put me on some pill for anxiety. He said, you're stressed out. I'm like, I'm not stressed out. The doctor said, yes, you are, so I believe him. So I took the pills for a year. Pills made me worse. But I believe what he said. He's a doctor, right? We got to believe him. So he believed the doctor. So all those things come from a depressed state. The depression comes in You guys stay with me here for a second. The Greek word for lukewarm means torpor. And I had that word up here a second ago. If you just stay with me, I promise you we're going to get there. Torpor means numbness, inactivity, or loss of motion, the power of motion. If you drop down a little bit, it says, it may, however, be applied to the state of a living body, which we're living, that has not lost all power of feeling and motion. So when you come to church on Sunday, and you're living through tradition, and you're going through, you ever hear anybody say going through the motions? Raise your hand. Okay, so you can go through the motions and be depressed and be stagnant. So you can come to church, but that doesn't mean you're going to do anything. You're just coming here because you're supposed to come here. Wow. That's what you do. So you can be stagnant, and we can have feeling and power. It doesn't mean we're dead, we're sitting still, we're moving. I'm up here walking around. Where's my mental case? Where's my mental state? So where am I at? So when we see those things, it goes between torpor, it calls it, that word there, and fervor. Anybody know what fervor means? My brother minister's got it back here. By the way, you guys all have pink on. You need to tell me and Raymond next time y'all wearing pink, okay? Tell me so we can all wear pink. I see all this pink out here, like, man, I forgot my pink. Fervor means it's something that you have a passion for, and you do it because you have a passion versus a tradition. So the Greek word tells us that means the difference between stagnant is torpor and fervor. You're either not doing anything, or you're so excited you come to church because you want to speak, you want to sing, you want to hear. Lukewarm means you're just kind of caught in between those two things. You don't know what to do. One Sunday you're good, next Sunday you're not. So if you're not consistent, you're not going where you need to go. You're taking steps back. The passion is where we got to understand what's going on. And there's something that's kind of crazy that caught me off guard. We talk about stagnation in water, and I'm a fisherman. So I think when I go to the mountains and trout fish, I told my wife this morning, the water running down that mountain, I would put a cup in and drink it in a second. I would go to Cherokee and I would go up the river at 441 about 20 miles and I would drink anything that comes out of that water. I've done it. I filled my water bottles hunting and fishing. If I went to Lake Hickory, I don't even want to touch a fish. I go to a pond or somewhere. It's nasty. It's stagnant. You drive across 321 going to Argus, you see the water's nasty. Well, there's a sewage treatment plant right on the hill. So they treat the water, they dump it right back. I've been in those plants and helped work in them. I know that it's not always clean. So I'm careful where I get my stuff. I'm careful where I get my water, if you feel where I'm coming from. I'm careful where I go to get what I need when I'm thirsty. So I'm real careful about that. The other part of water is, here comes the part of me that's kind of, I love this stuff. Your body's made up of 80% water. How many knew that? I thought it was made up of skin. I'm laughing. 80% water. Your heart's 70% water. Your lungs are 83% water. Anybody look up Genesis 1 real quick. Pull it up and tell me when you got it. Anybody? Genesis 1. And I may have it here. By the way, that's my son Rashid. He's home from college, y'all, so we're going to work him some this summer too. Hold on, I've got it here. So we're made up of water, okay? We're water, 80% water. Our body is water. We need water to survive. We get dehydrated, we pass out. We need water to survive. Genesis 1 says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. Darkness was over the face of the deep. The Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Okay, I read that at home with me this morning. For Apostle Steele say it, he was on the face of the waters. He was on the face of water. I'm water. So he was on the face of that water. My water starts to stink if I sit here and do the same thing for 30 years. Wow. People don't want to hear what I've got to say. You don't want to come and drink water if you're saying the same thing and there's no clean water flowing in and out of your church. People come and go. Pastors come and go. But the shepherd of the church stays still. Right? God puts somebody where they need to be. But his water flows from the top down. So as his water flows. I heard a preacher one time say, I hope my pastor stay with me their whole life, forever. And to me that makes sense. Hey, this guy teaches me something. But if that guy's teaching me something, I can go over here and gather another crowd. He teaches something too, then we're all the same body. It's okay to do that. It's okay. You stay until it's time and God tells you the water flows on. We got to remember the flow of water. And when I saw that he was on the face of the earth, that kind of got me. But the whole depression thing, guys, I need people to understand. And I tell my mother and father this. We're not on Facebook, are we? Okay, so y'all don't go home and tell them and call them. Hopefully y'all don't have their number. back door flew open. That's okay. We're going to let the word flow out the building. I ain't worried about that. Maybe we need to let it go out the door. Let the water flow. But my problem that I have, guys, we sit in church and we sit here and we may go back and we're like, how was church in the house? It was fine. It was fine. But you're a preacher. 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 He called him to lead preachers. Okay? That's the word apostle. He's teaching that, the apostolic movement. He's a teacher. He's putting the water forth. We've got to help him flow that water on down. It's like dams and lakes that you stop up and stuff. You've got to let that thing continue to flow in your house. I see so many people that have it in it, and they just don't speak for whatever reason. I don't understand that. You don't have to be very, very, very good with words. You just have to stand up and tell you what God does. But I see our kids today, with the depression thing, I was reading an article in the paper the other day, and it was a kid that was 8 years old that had on depression medicine. And I'm like, why are you on depression medicine? You're 8 years old, okay? My daughter's not here, but her mother decided it would be smart to put her on some Ritalin, ADHD, whatever it was. As soon as she moved in with us, I threw it in the trash. I said, she won't take it anymore. She's making better grades. She's doing better. But it was because we decided that I'm not going to acknowledge that she's hyper. I was hyper. Anybody hyper when you were a kid? I go to my grandparents. They had a creek in a pond. I was the biggest cousin, the oldest cousin. I used to throw all the other cousins in the creek, out around one of them. I was messy, but I was having fun. I was a little boy. We got to have fun. Our kids are going to have fun. But today we're so fast-paced. If our kids cut up, we're so quick to say, well, they need this, they need that, they need this, they need that. They don't need that. They just need you to spend time with them and guide them. They need real water. Because the depression thing, the enemy takes us by our mind. I mean, we all know that. You can cut my right arm off. I may cry for a day or two, but I'm going to be okay. You can take my leg, I may be okay. But it takes my mind. I get on heels, I don't know where I'm at. So I've got to have the water running out of me, okay? We've said it the last 4 or 5 times I've been up here. I say the same thing, but I say the same thing when I was at Bernhardt. I said the same thing when I was at Geiger, because I was in this capacity then. I'll say the same thing tomorrow. I'll say the same thing in 10 years. You're not going to take my mind. You may, we were talking a little bit earlier this morning with Pastor Steele. My mind, I understand that the devil's going to come at me. Yes. Don't care. When Bernhardt called me in, they said, you don't have a job? If you'd have been in the room and recorded it, they're like, we're sending you home. Do you understand that? I said, I understand it, but at the same time, I just got ordained 5 days ago. My wife's got a truckload of furniture. We're moving somewhere. And to be honest with you, I just want to get this truckload of furniture moved and go fishing in this new pond. And they looked at me like I was crazy. I am crazy. When you say you're crazy, I am crazy. Because I'm that guy now that when I wake up in the morning, don't take this wrong, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I care about what I need to care about. I care about you guys. And just being honest with you and telling the truth. The problem with men, and I'm talking to the men for a minute, so you women just ignore it, because if any of y'all agree with these guys, don't get mad at me if they agree with me when we go home. Us men, we're too proud. Yeah. Okay? I got a lot of pride. Tons of pride. I got lots of it. Jordan, I got more pride than you could haul and whatever you could bring out here, bro. I got tons of pride. But I let that go recently. And I don't care about the pride, because I know if I keep that pride in me, it's going to start to stink. I know. And ain't no deodorant going to cover that up. Ain't no toothpaste going to cover that up when it starts smelling. Because you can be around somebody and you can tell when they're prideful. And I was very prideful. You can tell because somebody starts to stink. You're like, man, this is terrible. You've been in a situation where this just stinks. And it really does. So we need to understand that our mind is the way that we do that. And by doing that, if I've told you what I think is wrong with the church, not this church, but other churches in general, I can tell you how to fix it, right? It's our job to tell folks what they need to do. And then you just got to listen. Well, the number one thing you need to do is understand, just be you. Don't put on that mask he talks about. Where's that little mask? He's got a mask that we put on. Apostle Steele did that thing. You wear those masks, okay? The lady was in here the other night at revival. She had on the mask. She's behind the mask. She don't want you to see her. She wants you to see what she stands for. We put on that mask as men, and we want to be something that we're not. At the end of the day, Depression comes usually from lack of something. You lack a boat, you lack a car, you lack a job, you lack the money that you need. That's what makes you depressed. But then I started reading a little deeper, and I'm like, all right, so I see these NBA basketball players worth millions killing themselves. They interviewed one this morning on SportsCenter as I was coming out the door. I'm watching it a little bit, and he said he was, I'm not going to mention, I can't remember his name, but it was a couple of years ago he was drafted like in the top 10, making tons of money, but he left the NBA. I didn't even realize this. I'm like, okay, this kid, he said, I just don't want to play basketball. That's not it for me. So this guy had all this money, potential to have all this money, and it wasn't for him. He was lost. Now he's a speaker. He's a motivational speaker, makes nothing, but he does what he does. But as men, we won't do that. We want to be prideful. We want to stand up and think we need this. And I'm not telling you don't work, because you don't work, your kids don't eat, then your wife's going to divorce you, then you're going to be talking about it in the streets, and you're going to be up here getting prayed. That's not what I'm saying. I say all that, and I don't have a job. She has a job, okay, so I'll just fish right now. But what I'm telling you guys, God puts us in places to make us be able to do things. If you're fighting something that God's having you to do, maybe He took something from you not to make you depressed. He's not trying to make you depressed. He's not a dark God. He doesn't do that. But He will take you out of something to put you into something. Amen. For you to see what you really need to do. And this is the second time in 5 years it's happened to me. The last time I wrote a book and we came here. Okay, I had to leave a situation that I said in a year. Then it took me another year to listen to God. And then the 6 months I didn't work, I wrote a book, watched His stuff. For some reason I kept looking on Facebook and watching this stuff and kind of following. And then He calls me and invites me to speak. And I'm like, okay, God, you showed me that. So when God tells you something, and he may be taking you out, you don't understand why. It can be the loss of a kid. It can be the loss of your mom or dad. It can be the loss of something. And normally that's what depression comes from. Nobody's ever got depressed because they just won $500 million. Now, a month from now, when everybody's beating down their door, maybe they got depressed. But I don't know anybody that drives up here and gets me a new Tahoe. I don't want that car. Nobody does that. So we got I hope He brings us two. If He brings two, you give me one and we'll just call it a blessing. So the whole thing I'm trying to say is, men, we need to understand it's our job to lead. Okay, it's our job to do that. I go to churches. We the times I've had to travel with the SEALs, we go in churches. We don't see a lot of men. But what I love about our organization, when we had convocation, this place was packed with strong men. If you could feel it. You could feel it. You could feel that water flowing out here, because I had people that watched the Facebook page of me, the yoking, or whatever we want to call it up here. And we had friends who actually come by our house who had been by, called, and they're like, we could feel that thing through Facebook that you had posted. They actually said they were in their house shouting and crying because they could feel the power. That was the power that people brought, okay? When you can feel something like that, we've all been there. We've been around people where you just feel the power and authority. And that's something that takes time. You gotta have that flowing, you know. He's got all the power and authority in the world, but if he decided to keep it in and just turn his back and be like this, I'm going to use my voice. My wife says it's my white voice. You got to act like this. So we do that all the time when we're out and about. We'll be at a restaurant and I'll do that to the waiter or something. When somebody's snooty, I'll do it back to them. But if he did that, we'd have a problem. So she thinks I'm kidding, but just to kind of break up the sermon a minute, when we go to a restaurant, okay, guys, we get a lot of looks. Because we're mixed. If y'all didn't know, I'm white, she's black. Just want to tell everybody. So we'll be in a restaurant, they'll look at us, and we've had waitresses actually change tables, and they'll come out and say, oh, she's going off her shift and do something else. So when they come back to me, they're like, ma'am, could I have some water? And they look at me like, maybe he's got a lot of money, I'll be nice to him. And I leave him like $1 tip and put a note on it that says, yes, we're black and white. So I let people know. She tells me I'm wrong, I tell her, no, that's called rebuking. So as a pastor, I'm going to use the rebuke word because I think I can, and I think I will. In my book that I wrote in Timothy says rebuke the enemy at all times. It says if you're in a restaurant, rebuke him. If you're at the gas station at Ross, rebuke him on a Sunday morning, right? I'll tell you later. Anyway, guys, what I want to say is, I'm not going to speak long. Like I said, we got to go to Atlanta here in a little bit and talk. But I want to read something to you. I read all kind of material. There was a writer in the mid-1800s named Joseph Benner, and he wrote a lot of stuff, and it was all biblically based, just another way of looking at it. He wasn't a preacher, he was a writer, and he owned a lot of companies in Ohio. The guy was a billionaire. Today he would have more money than Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and those guys, okay? So suddenly, God jerked him up one day and said, man, you got all this stuff, I need you to use it. Write this down. So he started writing down. So I kind of talked about this last week. Said the first and most important is always being positive in your thinking. Positive in your speaking, positive in things you do. Don't ever be negative. The negative person attracts all the negative things of life. All the inharmonies, troubles that are in the mental atmosphere. So in the mid-1800s, he wrote this. He was talking about your mentality is going to change if you think it to be bad. It's going to be bad. Same thing it just said. It says, if you understand, I talked about the radio last week, you'll know that when you set your dial a certain wavelength, everything that's on the air on that wavelength will be heard. Everything. That's why every channel has their own little number. 103.3 and 106.9. That's their wavelength that's sent out. You're only going to hear the music on that one until you go to another city and it changes. So it says, so that is, it's up to you to what radio station your mind gets tuned to. Have you ever noticed how a positive person in a crowd of ordinary people is always the center of attention, always makes their presence felt, and always accomplishes things that other people can't get done? That's because they're just thinking positive. It doesn't mean that Bill Gates is any smarter than anybody in this room. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean that Tyler Perry is doing something that nobody else ever did to make his money. He just decided, I'm going to do it. That's all he did. He just said, I'm not going to be around people who are negative. And if I am around them, you know what? They're going to go by me real fast because I'm going to pass them. And that's how it's going to be done. Brother Jordan, you can't control what I put in your ear unless you leave the room. But you can understand if it's good or bad, dark or light, and you can put it away. The problem is, somebody tells you that you can't sing 6 years ago, and you never go back in the choir stand. Maybe you couldn't sing to their standards, but that doesn't mean you can't sing. Okay? When I first started preaching, they're like, man, do you realize the community you're in, you're trying to preach? And when I say community, it was this. What do you mean? I got hairy arms? I didn't know, I was kind of making fun of them. I'm like, don't tell me what I can't do. Because what I'm going to show you is I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to watch something happen. And if I touch that guy or that guy or that guy, that's all I care about. I don't care about you. I don't care about your negativity. It doesn't matter to me. So I try to keep the water flowing. If you put it in here, it's going to come out real fast somewhere, trust me. It's going to be gone. But the last thing I want to do, and we're going to get ready to get out of here, is I want to read this word for word. So just stay with me a second. I need everybody to pay attention because I'm going to ask you a question. It says, an illustration was once when driving on a thoroughfare where there was temporary narrow road. One-lane road built at the side was a bridge that was being constructed. We came to a halt because of a line of automobiles ahead. After waiting for some minutes, the rider got out of the car and noticed perhaps 30 cars at the decline at the bottom of the ravine, and the same thing on the other side coming down. So you got a road, we're going down to a bridge, or we're going up, okay? So he said he could not see any sense in waiting, so he pulled out in the left lane, got in his car, drove down, went around, and said everybody started following. There was nothing wrong in the highway. Raymond was sitting on that side, and I was sitting on this side, and we were scared to go because we thought we might hit. It's only one lane. Well, somebody's got to go. So, are you the one that goes? Or are you the one that sits there in traffic for 3 hours till you run out of gas? Which one are you? And you got to understand which one you're going to be. I'm the guy that puts the pedal down, and I may go 1,000 miles an hour by myself, but if I get there and I've made a mistake, then I'll fix it. But I know most of the time with leaders and God touching them and them touching me, that I'm going to go 1,000 miles an hour that direction. I'm going to let it flow. Because I don't have time not to do that. Wow. I don't have time to wait to sit there and do something like that. So you got to make a decision what you're going to do, and you got to let it flow. If something needs to come out of your mouth, I'm not telling you to go tell somebody something mean and hateful, but if they need to be told something, tell them. If there's something, Sister Luella, that you've been needing to tell somebody and it's bothering you, pick up the phone and call them and tell them. Just say, I'm sorry, I need to do this, and you do with what you want to. You can store it in your file cabinet. I'm going to get rid of it. But you got to let it flow. Like I said, water that flows over rocks and down mountains don't ever get stagnant. It doesn't ever get nasty. You can drink it. You can put your mouth in it and drink it. You go to Lake Erie, put your mouth in it and drink it. You're probably going to go to the bathroom 7,000 times and then go to the hospital because you're going to have a problem because it's stagnant. It's sitting around doing nothing. So, in closing and all that, as pastors and ministers, and apostles and people who speak, evangelists, when you're traveling around sometimes, I used to walk out of the study at the church I was at, and I would look and be like, 7 kids in there. That used to bother me. I'm like, man, nobody wants to hear me speak. What's the problem? Then it started working on me a little bit, like I don't even care. And when I didn't care, I wouldn't come out until after they were already singing. It's about time to preach. I'd come out of the study. I'd look out and there'd be 50 kids. I was like, all right, don't worry about it. It's going to be all right. It's going to fix itself, possibly. So I look at those things, and I realize the food that you give people, Brother Jordan, sometimes it just ain't meant to be eaten. Somebody needs to eat it. Somebody don't need to eat it. You know, you regurgitate it, spit it out, whatever you need to do, like God does. Sometimes He puts stuff in us that we need to eat. Sometimes it ain't for us. Not every sermon's for you. Not every word is for you. And I say that I always got to close with a story that's personal about fishing, because I'm a fisherman. So we got this pond, Brother Raymond. Yeah, she's raising her hand too. I love to fish. You just don't understand. So we got this pond. And I went down last week one day. My wife went to the store. I said, I'm going to go fishing. So I went fishing. I caught like 10 crappie in like an hour. I was like, man, this is crazy. You know, I got a big old bunch of fish. So I put them back in there. I was showing her on FaceTime. She's like, man, I'm trying to shop. Leave me alone. I got to get some groceries or something. I'm like, no, you got to worry about my fish. I caught fish. She didn't care about the fish, so she hung up on me. So anyway, I took a picture of fish, sent it to my dad. He's like, boy, I'm working. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not. I'm fishing. So anyway, I tell you all that. So I'm catching all these fish. So I go down yesterday, Apostle, and all these fish are in the school. And they're in a frenzy, man. There's like, man, I'm not kidding. There's 50 crappie, pound and a half. Big fish. Oh, yeah, I'm going to eat crappie tonight. So I throw my line in there. Couldn't catch fish. I'm seeing them. I could literally stab these fish. Couldn't catch fish. Couldn't catch fish. So I got me some corn, chummed it up a little bit. Got me some shrimp, chummed it up. I catch them now. Put it on my hook throw and catch fish. They didn't touch the corn. They just laid there. It laid there. Exactly. So the thing is, sometimes you throw the food in there. Sometimes the fish ain't meant to be caught that day. And sometimes the water may be nasty. Like she said, there's spawning in the water. There's other things going on in the water. And the water's getting stirred up, mixed up, and it may look ugly. Fish wasn't seeing none of my food. They wasn't smelling my food. But some days the water flows and the pond's clear and you catch them and you can't even see them. You can't even see them when you're reeling in the fish. Okay? So you got to have your water. You got to know the clarity of your water. You got to keep it clean. You got to keep it flowing. If his water was stagnant, I guarantee you he wouldn't be in the position that he's in, and they wouldn't be calling him apostle still. Okay? Because he had to go through a process. Had to keep flowing out of somebody. She wouldn't be, we talked earlier, he got 75 names now. Pastor Steele, First Lady Steele, she's the overseer, designate Steele. So she's got all these names. Well, there's a reason she has those names, okay? There's a reason, because it continues to flow out of her. If she just took it and sat over here every week and just did this, she's like, can I do my voice? Look at them. Who do they think they are? God wouldn't move them anywhere. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if God gives you something, Sister Llewellyn, if He gives you something, I'm not picking on you, let it go. Let it flow. Let it teach. Because when I was dealing with your grandson, and he was over at Bernhardt 4, where you're at, and he would come to my maintenance shop to find me, and I'd be busy. I'd be busy. He's like, can I ask you something, Pastor? Make it quick. So Tyrone would ask me something, and if I didn't know, I'd find out. But he wanted to know. He wanted to let it flow. Okay, so I had to let it go. If I would just cut him off and said no, he would have quit coming to the water. And the water wouldn't have given him anything, okay? Because he would come back and tell me, he said, well, Grandma said this. What do you think about it? And a couple times he did. He'd come back and said, y'all discuss stuff. I don't know if he ever told you that. And we discussed it. It's like, what do you think about this? I'm like, well, I don't know. We'll talk about it and see. So let it flow, okay? So everybody stand up. Amen. Everybody stand up. My wife asked me one time, why don't you holler a little bit? So I said, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I didn't know that there's a Bible college in Texas. And I won't say the name because then somebody here may have been to it, may have done it. There's a Bible college. They have a class, brother. They teach you how to do that. They teach you how to hype the crowd, okay? There's a class. I'm not kidding. I know guys that went to that college. I'll tell you later. They teach you how to hype the crowd, okay? I'm not that guy. That's your trustees, right? You got to get those guys going. But when I'm in front of you guys, man, I just try to give you a little something. What I'm trying to tell you is go home and study Revelations a little bit and see what's in there, okay? Study the Bible and see what's there. If you're lukewarm, that means you're going backwards. There's no such thing as a Christian being lukewarm. Lukewarm is for the enemy. It's only mentioned one time. It's in Revelations. And it says, because you're this, I'm not going to know you. It's basically what it says. He says at one time, he tells John in his vision, he said, I'm telling you, you're lukewarm people. He didn't say one person, he said everybody. The church is lukewarm, and that's it. And the church ain't nothing but Christians who are already dead, okay? Okay? This is for people who are dead to the world. You're dead to the world, right? You're here. Okay, so on Sunday morning, you could be at the flea market. You could be in Pigeon Forge riding go-karts. You could be on the golf course. You could be on tennis courts. You're already dead to the world, so the world doesn't care about you, right? If I'm driving down the road and there's a dead deer, I don't want the deer, he stinks. But I'll go shoot him and eat him. But he's dead. We don't care about that thing. He just lays there. You guys got to understand, if you're Christians, you're dead to the world. And you got to know that. They're not going to be your friend. They're not going to come looking for you. You're going to come in here with us. We're all going to sit around. And we're going to be the life. Okay? So we're going to be the water, the living water that flows. That's what we're going to be. So I need you guys to understand it. I want the young folks to come up here for a minute. Then I give them the mic. I want to pray for you guys. Especially this guy here. He's going to be a preacher and just don't know it.
Yeah.
When he gets the money to buy me a Tahoe, we're going to travel in style, Jordan. So hopefully it's soon. There's my man. What's up, guys? How y'all doing? How you doing, new man? I swear he's going to be 7 foot tall by next Sunday. It's like every week he comes in, he got on thin shoes too, and he's still taller than me. Used to be like down here, and now he's like up here. First time I saw him, he was not much more than your size. I don't even know if you remember that, man. You remember that. Lady, you gonna come up here? Or you gonna sit with Grandma? She gonna sit with Grandma. I said, lady, she went to sleep all of a sudden. I miss my little guy there in the orange. He's up here helping preach. Yeah, she dodged it like I wasn't even talking to her. She's real cool. She used her white voice. So, I like having fun, guys. I like having fun with the kids. You got to keep it fun and entertaining. You guys learn anything today? Didn't learn nothing, did you? I didn't either. Tell you what we're going to do, okay? The reason I called you up here is this. A couple weekends, we just about got our little stuff situated. I want you guys to leave one day after church, and y'all can bring them and drop them off, whoever they need to do. I want you guys to come, and we're going to have a little cookout and fish at my house, okay? So I got tons of fishing rods, tons of fishing stuff. You ever caught a fish? You're going to. You ever caught a fish? Going to. You ever caught one? What? You ever caught a fish? Oh, yeah. He smiled when he said, you caught one? Just one? That's all you got to catch is one. If I catch one, I'm happy. If I catch none, I'm happy. All right, guys, we're going to pray. Here's what we're going to do. I want y'all to hold hands. Everybody hold hands there. Everybody grab hands. Young lady, you get in here. Let's get in. All right. Adults, what I want you to do when I start praying, I want you to pray for these kids, okay? We're going to go to prayer. And if anybody feels like they need to come to the altar, they can walk up here around us as we're praying.